I have a challenge for you as we start this episode. I know I ended last episode with a little bit of a challenge, but I want to start this episode with a challenge as well. I want you to name for me one thing, just one thing, that complements, meaning not like makes feel better about themselves, compliments, but like improves God's design. One thing about our current culture that complements God's design. Can you even come up with one that actually works to amplify and bring out the beauty of the way that God made us? I would say it's going to be hard for you to come up with one. Just one thing that works with the way He made our bodies and not against it. Okay, I'll wait. Can you come up with anything? Just kidding. I'm not going to wait. Let's dive in and let's talk about this some because until we understand this foundational concept, it's going to be hard to understand why anything else I talk about on this podcast even matters. It's that important. So let's go. Let's get into it. And during the introduction, you can keep thinking. Let's go. It's review time again today. Today's review comes from Kikine. I'm not really sure. It's back in May. Headline says, "A lifetime for this mama. Lori has been such a blessing during my pregnancy. I found her podcast early in my first trimester while searching for the right midwife and doula for our home birth. After our blighted ovum miscarriage last year, I had done so much research, but Lori's wisdom and scripture studies had brought a whole new level of peace, especially during second trimester anxiety. Though I was recently laid off and can't take the birth course, the podcast has been a lifeline. Our midwife checks all the green flags Lori shares, and I'm more confident in this home birth every day. Thank you, Lori, for helping us mamas feel informed, empowered, and no longer treated like accidents waiting to happen." Thank you so much for that review. That is so encouraging. I wish that you had reached out to me because I'm always happy to try to work with you to make the course possible. So if anybody's listening and you're like, man, I really need this course, I just need, a little flexibility, holler at me. I'll be glad to try to help you in any way that I can because I want everyone to have the birth that they deserve to have, not the medicalized, traumatized birth, but the beautiful natural home birth if at all possible. So with that being said, I have a quick announcement. Actually, before I have the announcement, if you haven't left me a review yet, go leave me a review. Forgot that part, okay? And if you don't have an Apple phone or iPad or MacBook or whatever, go over to YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel and just comment on some videos or like some videos. That helps me as well, helps me find more people just like you who could use the content that I put out. Okay, now quick announcement. So my episodes usually post on Tuesday morning, super early in the morning, usually like 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, right? And I wanted to let you know because I've heard from several of you that you are like watching it religiously every Tuesday, and some of you just can't wait. Okay, and so I wanted to let you know that starting this past episode, actually, I am publishing my video format episodes on YouTube the night before. So starting on Monday nights at 5 o'clock, it says local time. I'm not 100% sure if that means your local time or my local time, but whatever, somewhere around in there, you can now go on YouTube and watch the new episode. So you'll just need to go to YouTube, look up at If Mama Ain't Healthy, and that will bring up, if you just do youtube.com/at sign If Mama Ain't Healthy, that should bring it up. Subscribe, turn on your notifications, and you can now watch the new episodes there before you can hear them on your podcast app the next morning. Okay? So that's my announcement. Now you got Monday night must-see TV, and what more do you need, right? Just kidding. It's not that great. Maybe it's okay. Anyway. Okay, so back to the introductory question. Can you think of one thing that's a normal part of our normal everyday American culture that actually works with God's design for our bodies and for our lives? Did you think of one? Could you think of one? Because I bet you can't. I have tried. I've been trying to think of this for months. This has been in my mind for months. And there is nothing that I can come up with that truly works with God's design for our bodies and for our health. And this is really the root of so many of the struggles that we have on this earth as women. We are being pulled away from God in every direction, not just our health, in every aspect of our life, but especially our health. So I want to illustrate this for you today, and I want you to carry this with you as the underpinning of this whole podcast. I want this to be the underpinning thought behind every single episode that you hear from here on out. From this point forward, I want you to look through this lens of how skewed our world's perspective is, so that you can understand why these things matter to your health and how come maybe it's a little harder to undo some of these things. Maybe you're having to do a little bit more work and you don't feel like you should have to. Maybe you shouldn't have to, but you do. And so I want you to just keep this in your mind from this point forward, keeping in mind what we talked about last week and what you're going to need to do to get yourself ready for these changes. This will then further underline all of that so that you're ready to make these changes and you understand what you're working against. So you understand the enemy. All right. Every topic I'm going to cover on future episodes will be helping you to learn to remove the barrier between our world's way and God's way. That's really going to be the basis for all of it. Okay. So let me just take you through a few. That was funny. Take you through a few things that just came to mind as I was jotting down some ideas. And this list is not exhaustive, sadly. This is just a few of the tip of the iceberg kind of things that I could think of. There are many more, and I'm sure you will think of more. But I just want to get you kind of started thinking about why I decided to make this change with this podcast and why I want to help you make these changes, why it matters. Because if we are working against the way that God made us, we're just going to be in a constant struggle. And I don't want you to be in a constant struggle. I want you to be healthy and I want you to be well. And in order to truly do that, there's going to have to be some reversal. There's going to have to be some countercultural decisions. Those aren't easy, but I'm here to help you make them. The first thing that's very obvious, I'm sure you could probably guess, but the first thing that is in our culture that works against God's design for our bodies is food. Our food. Our food is fast. Our food is restaurant based. Our food is processed. Our food comes from meat. I saw earlier this week, it was talking about ground beef in restaurant hamburgers. And it was talking about how you could have a hamburger that comes from maybe 1,000 different cows. So you've got 1,000 different bacteria profiles and 1,000 different potential pathogens and 1,000 different, environments of being raised. Whereas if you buy beef from a local farmer and you purchase that cow for yourself, your hamburger comes from one cow. And what a difference that can make in the health value of that one product. Our foods are cooked in oils that were never intended to be eaten. They literally have scientific studies. They spend millions, if not billions of dollars learning how to make you want to eat more than you need of the things that you don't need. It's that nefarious. They actually put their money into discovering ways to keep you eating beyond what you normally would. Our wheat supply is completely stripped of its goodness. It's all sifted, and all the good wheat germ and bran and oils, all that is gone. All you're getting is the white part in just about every product you're going to buy in the store, whether it be pasta or crackers or bread or cookies. Anything that has wheat in it, it's all been stripped of any goodness it might have had. Fruits and veggies are grown in chemicals that destroy your gut health. They're also picked thousands of miles away long before their peak ripeness. And what you may not understand is that when a vegetable is picked long before its peak ripeness, the nutrient profile that it's supposed to have is not there, because some of those nutrients that your body needs don't develop until later on in the process. So when you're eating foods that were harvested, maybe a month earlier on the other side of the country, you're never going to have the right nutrient profile. So your body is still not getting what it needs out of the food. Then we have microwaves in our kitchen that further destroy the health content of our food. So even if your food is at home and it's got maybe decent amount of nutrients in it, now you put in the microwave and you lose even more. And then we're so busy that few, if any, of our meals are cooked at home. We're eating everything quickly, which works against our metabolism because our bodies are not intended to eat fast. We don't take the time to appreciate our food and to enjoy our food and to sit around a table with our family. There's just really nothing in our culture when it comes to food that works with the way God made us to eat, which is whole foods, grown as close to home as possible, hopefully by our own selves, but if not, by local farmers, with the when the food has been harvested near or at peak ripeness. We lose so much of this through the processing and through having everything available at the grocery store. And you get mad if you go to the grocery store and you don't have apples there. But maybe apples aren't in season and they're coming from across the country and they're not nearly as good as they would have been if you would have just eaten them in season. There's just so many layers to this that I could go into and that I will go into over time. But this is just a little snapshot of something to think about how much our food is no longer the way God designed it to be for our bodies to work as well as possible. Another thing that has been manipulated to where it no longer works with God's design properly is our sleep. Our circadian rhythms, which God designed to be ruled by the day and the night that He created, they're now dictated by our schedules, not the sun. They're dictated by our alarm clocks and when we decide we're going to get up and when we decide we're going to go to bed, because we have electricity and we have bright lights everywhere to illuminate work anytime we want to do it. We can create fake daylight at any time of day or night, at any hour. We rarely, if ever, see the sunrise and see the sunset, which those times of day and the light that comes from the sun in those times of day have properties that actually help your body to kind of set its own clock. And we don't get that. The changes in the daylight that are designed to, again, help our body to know, it's time to start getting ready to sleep or it's time to wake up, are overridden by our artificial light so often. And on top of that, we look at our screens and our phones and our TVs so much that the light from those things, which is blue light, further exacerbates the problem, meaning that we are constantly giving our brains mixed signals about whether it is time to be awake or time to be sleeping. The signals our brain should be getting to get ready for sleep, like as the sun starts to go down and the light changes, and then eventually it gets into dusk, and then eventually it gets all the way dark. These are signs to our body through our eyes to our brain that tell us it's time to start resting. And yet we override all of that. Okay. We hustle at all hours of the night, got our side hustle, our extra jobs, whatever it is, or just wanting to play video games or watch TV. Got our social media we got to catch up on, we got our scrolling we got to do. And then there's people like me who are night owls who just seem to do better at night and seem to not do as good early in the morning. But is that really our natural tendency? Or is that what the world has told us is our natural tendency because we've just gotten so used to having all these lights that tell our brain it's not really time to go to bed yet? Our brains are confused. They don't know when day is and when night is. And so we have our circadian rhythms all messed up, which has downstream effects on things like metabolism and glucose and so many other things that, again, I'm not going to talk about right now, but I will be talking about. Our sleep alone can create the insulin resistance that is the foundation of so much metabolic dysfunction. I'll just leave that there for you to think about. This is not benign. This is not just being tired the next day. This is our physiology being thrown off because this culture tells us that we can do whatever we want to do whenever we want to do it. It doesn't really matter whether it's day or night. All right, another thing that we do in our culture, or another thing from our culture that is impacting everything about how we live and working against God's design for our body is our activity. We are not designed to spend our days inside and sitting down. Nearly every job, it seems, focuses on computer work now. Everything is computer based, right? We are not active in our normal days, and Americans average about maybe 3,000 to 4,000 steps a day. That's nothing. And it shows because going back to the food, we're not eating well. Going back to the sleep, we're not sleeping well. And then we're spending all day long inside on our rear ends doing whatever it is that we need to do work-wise that's not active. And so this all piles up to a big picture of metabolic dysfunction. Add to that our lifestyles as women. the lifestyle of a mom in this culture. God gave women the job of being keepers at home. You can read about that in Titus. We're given the job to be keepers at home. Now, are other people keeping things together at home too? Yes, but who is the one person he delineated to be the keeper of home? That was mama. But feminism in the world told us that we can do more than that. Anything a man can do, we can do too. So how's that worked out for us? Now, can we potentially do the things that men do? Well, yeah. Can they do the things we do? Yeah. But are they ever going to do the things we do as well as we do? And are we ever going to do the things they do as well as they do? Not really. Maybe here and there. But there's a reason God designed men the way he designed men. And there's a reason God designed women the way he designed women. And there's a reason he gave each of us the roles that he gave us. And that's because that plays to our strengths in what he put inside of us and how he made us. And so when we work against that, it doesn't work out that well. Think about this. We now leave our kids to go and work a job to make the money that we need to pay the person who's watching our kids so that we can go work the job. How backwards is that? We are working our tails off to pay the daycare bill, to take care of the kids that are our kids. Now somebody else is putting their values into them while we're away from them making the money we need to pay the other person, put their values into them. It doesn't make any sense. Then we come home tired and we're stressed and we still have those keeping at home jobs. We've still got all the housework to do. They're all sitting there waiting for us. Not to mention having to take kids to this activity and that activity and the other activity, none of which are part of God's plan or his calling for us, but it's just what we do to feel normal, even if normal is unhealthy and bound for hell. Yes, I said it. Yes, I know that hurts. Yes, I know some of you are going to be offended by that. But I need you to really, really give this some honest thought. What is our end goal here? Are we just here to exist? Or are we here to thrive and to live God's way? You really need to think about that and really get serious with yourself. We give our best hours of our lives to strangers instead of our husbands and our children who need us the most. This lifestyle further plays into the ones above, the ones about food and sleep and our activity, all of which neglect God's design. Because see, us mamas are so busy doing all the things, we have no time to make good meals for our family. We don't have time to sit our family down around the table. We have no time to enjoy his creation and to observe his night cycles and his day cycles for our health, like I mentioned. No time for just breathing and taking in life and enjoying our children and decompressing and just pauses. The pauses that he built into our days and weeks through the rest cycle that he gives us and the worship cycle he gives us. We overlook that. We're too busy for that. We've got to go do this. We've got to do that. We have all these excuses why we can't do the things that he told us were for our good. We have no time for Bible study. No time to get those reminders from his word that we need on a regular basis of his design and of his ways, because his word is full of them. And when we have the time to sit down and read them, we get those constant reminders that, yes, this is what God wants me to do. But when we are so busy, it is so easy to forget and to be distracted by the devil, who doesn't care how he gets you away from God, as long as he gets that distance established and he helps it to grow a little bit by a little bit, to where you wake up one day and you look and you're so far from God, you don't know what happened. Another aspect of our culture that works directly against God's design, this will be no surprise to you given the theme of the podcast for the last 2.5 years, is in giving birth. Because pregnancy in our country and in most countries is medicalized from day one. Never is any emphasis placed on relying on your God-given intuition as a woman and as a mother. Never is any weight put on what you want and what you feel like is best for you. You're told from the beginning that your body's probably going to fail. It's probably not going to be able to do this. You're not strong enough. You're not tough enough. You're not whatever enough. And that influence steals the joy from your pregnancy and then from your birth, which can easily be traumatized by this same system that we've talked about that doesn't listen to you and tells you what needs to happen rather than listening to you and trusting your body's God-given rhythms. And then that carries on into your breastfeeding journey where you can easily fall to that suggestion of, are you sure you're making enough milk? Are you sure? How can you be sure? So then the stress increases because you start wondering, I don't know, am I making enough milk? It increases and becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It spirals into bottle feeding and pacifiers, which then later on lead to dental issues down the road where yet another medical arm can start to siphon off the top of your hard-earned income as you put braces on your young child to move their teeth back to where they would have been if the whole journey hadn't been hijacked from the start, because breastfeeding leads to muscle and palate development, correct muscle and mouth muscle and palate development, as well as the nutritional foundation needed to make the jaw form and grow correctly so that there's room for teeth without wires and extractions. Do you see how far reaching these little things are and how quickly we can be so far off down the road from what God ever designed us to be without even realizing it? And we're just going along to get along. We're just doing what everybody does. And then you blink and you realize, what in the world happened? By the way, if you are pregnant now, and maybe you just found this podcast and you're like, what in the world? Is this a pregnancy podcast or what? It was, and it still is to some degree. And I want you to know that I have a complete online Christian childbirth education course that's available for you right now. And that is going to keep you off of this cycle. If you go take the course and apply what you learn, it will keep you off of this cycle. There are countless stories of women who have taken this course and completely changed their story because of what they learned there. So if you're pregnant now and you need that information so that you don't fall into all these things I just said, please go grab it. It's at go.yourbirthgodsway.com/CEC. You can read all about it there, learn all about it there. All right. After all that big old long list, I have a question. Are you exhausted yet? Because I have barely even scratched the surface of how many layers of our culture are working against God's design. It is from every angle. It is a job to keep up with it. It is a job to keep yourself in line with God's design. So my next question to you is, when are we going to stop this? When are we going to stop letting the culture win? When are we going to stop letting the culture inform our decisions about anything in our life? When are we going to start looking to God? When are we going to get off the hamster wheel and recognize what's going on? When are we going to truly put God first and prioritize working with His ways? Last week I gave you a challenge at the end of the episode, and this week is part 2 of that. I hope that you've already listened to last week's episode. If you haven't, please go back and listen to it and do your homework there. But then I want you to do your homework here. I'm going to start trying each week to give you something to do, because action is what brings change. If you do nothing, if you change nothing, nothing's going to change. And so this week, your homework is to think about these things. I want you to DM these to me on Instagram or email me with these 2 things. Number 1, I want you to think and think and think. And I want you to see if you can come up with another thing that works against God's design. And maybe I'll share those in the future. Think of something else that I didn't list that works against God's design. And then number 2, I want you to tell me one way that you're going to change this week to get back to God's design in your life and in your family's life. Just one thing. And what your plan is to make that happen so that you can get back to God's design and away from this world's fallen culture. Because that's what I want for you more than anything. I want for you to be as healthy as God designed you to be. I want you to feel as good as God designed you to feel. And the way to do that is to get back into working with the way He made you rather than fighting against it at every turn. You may have heard by now that I'm offering one-on-one coaching. If you haven't, I've talked about it a lot over on Instagram. I haven't really talked about it a lot here yet. So as you're listening to this, as you've been going through everything that I've just been saying and thinking about it, if you are fed up, if you are at your wit's end, and you are just fed up with it all and you're sick and tired of feeling so bad, and you are like, forget listing one thing. I am ready to change it all. I'm ready to get back to how God designed me for myself, for my family, to make the changes now that are going to change my children and my children's children. I'm done with doing it this way, but I don't really know how to do it. If you're ready for that overhaul, but you need that one-on-one hand-holding to help you make the changes at a metabolic level, I've got about 2 spots left this month. And that's for new clients who are ready for real life-changing, lasting change. This program is the real deal, and it is not what you're used to. It is high touch. It is intense. It is down to the metabolic level, like looking at your labs, making sure that we are addressing your specific situation, not just some generic situation. It's virtual. You don't have to be where I live. So if you're thinking, oh man, I'd love to do that, but I'm, in California or New Mexico or, Kentucky or whatever, wherever you happen to be, I can still work with you. I'm going to coach you to get your life back in line with God's design. It's so worth it. If you will show up and you are serious about making change, you are going to see things change in your life that you might have thought were past possible. Maybe you're going to finally lose the pounds that you've been hanging on to, and you just kind of resigned yourself to think this is it. It's never going to go away. Maybe it's baby weight from 15 years ago. Like mine was baby weight from 11 years ago. It's gone now. And it was gone in 3 weeks by making the changes that I'm going to teach you about in this program. So if you want to see if you're fit for one of those last couple of spots that I've got, send me a quick DM over on Instagram, or you can email me and we'll chat about how this program just might be the thing that you need to help you make the changes that change your life. And again, it's not just about you. When you get these tools in your toolbox, you change your husband's health. Even if he doesn't buy in, you can still make changes that are going to help him. You make changes in your children's health and then your future grandchildren's health. This ripples down because you're learning the things that you need to know to get you back to live in the way that God designed you to live. This podcast is all about giving you those tools to finally get healthy so you can change your family tree. So hop in and get involved either in the homework or as a client. But just remember, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So what changes are you going to make? You. Yes, you. I'm talking to you. I'm not talking in platitudes. I'm not talking in generalities. I'm talking to you as an individual. What are you going to do to make a change today? I hope one is that you're going to finally DM me or email me to do your homework. And I hope that another is that you're going to set a reminder to be listening next week to the next episode, whether that be here on your podcast app, if you're listening to audio, that'll come out on Tuesday morning, or if you're on YouTube next Monday night, set a reminder so you don't miss it, and I will see you then.